Good evening and welcome to another episode of The Law and You. This blessed Tuesday, we believe you have had a lovely week, and we believe that from the last Tuesday's episode, you have learned a lot and you have been enlightened. I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you very much for the people who have been watching this show on YouTube, on TV, on Facebook, and even the people who have been sharing, the people who have been giving their feedback, the people who have been giving questions and suggestions on even topics that you need to speak. If you have some topics that are dear to you, or maybe to a group of people, and you know that we need to talk about, The Law and You is a family-oriented show. This November and December, we had promised that in the month of November and December, we're doing a family series. And this last Tuesday of November, we are happy to be closing with the topic on matrimonial property. From last weekend show, we got about a lot of reviews, and we had one question that was repeating itself very much on the issue of shares and companies. People know that companies are different entities from people, but on this point you are being told you can bring in your share, you can also the share can be part of the matrimonial property, but at the same time you're being told there's property for the company you cannot touch, and it is a lot of people wanted clarity on that. To continue today's discussion, we still have our panelists, Diana Ndirangu and Eliud Ngugi, with us to be able to enlighten us more. Welcome and say jambo, Eliud, and then Diana can say jambo and give us a clarification on those issues on the company.
Jambo, thank you for having me once again on today's show.
Thank you for having me, and I'll pick off from where you've mentioned. Indeed, there was a question raised. In particular, someone was saying that shares are supposed to be under companies and not, they should be handled like under commercial matters and not in the matrimonial cause. And what has been happening is, if say, like there was a case where they purchased their home and then it was registered under a company, okay? And when it came to time for the time to divide, the wife was laying claim over, the share in the company.
The company, yeah.
Yes, and what the court held was the family court will not have jurisdiction to divide the property that's in the company. However, the court can look at the shares and say that, the husband was holding these shares in trust for his wife, and it will perhaps, what the court will proceed to declare, that the wife has a beneficial interest in those shares. And then now from there, you can then move to the company,
the commercial
division to discuss division of that. However, this particular court, the family court, has jurisdiction and has a right to declare how many, shares was my spouse holding in trust for me.
So in a situation whereby we see now you can do a company on your own, that means even if I've registered a company on my own, my wife can still go and lay a claim onto those shares, especially where that company was used for family business, that company was used to buy properties on behalf of the family, matrimonial homes, maybe investments.
Yes.
So that what we are saying is that, yes, when you go to court, you'll not be asking for the house, but you're asking for a share of this company.
Yes.
When you're given that share of that company, whatever now, when you enter as a director, shareholder, or a shareholder without a director, when you enter inside there now, you'll be able to claim as a shareholder what is available on that side.
Yes.
I think, is this issue of shares, is it a normal thing, or people are confusing it also on the issue of succession? We'll come on the issue of succession, whereby when one person dies, what happens to the company, what happens to the shares? There are some companies that are their memorandum and articles are very clear that it can only be transferred in between the directors' shareholders. So I don't know, is it the same situation we have here? For example, if me and Eliud, we have a company, and you're part of the directors of the company, so my share, can my wife come and claim, whereas our articles are very clear that shares can only be transferred inside, among ourselves inside here. There are those articles that we can sell to the outside world, or if you want to leave, sell to me.
Well, now that brings in the commercial law, the company law aspect of it, but that mainly affects when there has been perhaps death
Yeah.
That's where we find it most common. However, if say we start a company together, and in our company we put an asset that we purchased with our spouses.
Yeah.
My spouse can lay claim that she has a beneficial interest in some of the shares that you hold, based on the fact that this is something that as a family we considered our property, as much as it's registered under a company.
Okay.
Yeah.
As I said last time, the issue about company shares, it requires its own day, because it's very easy when discussed by lawyers, but I know maybe people are more confused than even we started. But what we are saying is this: even if your husband or wife hides your property in companies, the court will ensure you don't leave empty-handed. The last time I said matrimonial court and the children's court is one of the family division is one of the divisions that is not you win, I lose. In fact, most of the time, even costs, we are not allowed costs, because the court wants people to solve their issues. So you not walk home. I would talk a draw. I think that's the right that's the right word. Now, Eliud, from last time, another question that was coming up is that people are asking. Part of the matrimonial properties is things like what you have bought together and what you have bought inside the marriage. And I remember I gave an example last time, and we were talking about like the year 2010. So 2010 coming this side, anything I've bought is ours. 2009, 2008, 2000, that's my property. But sometimes the court comes and says, when you got married, maybe you became one, especially now, as in the church, you say you are one. So whatever you come with and whatever the law of God is that you are one. And people are asking, we have heard a lot about, it's a Western thing, but even now in Kenya, I think people practice it, the issue of prenups. I don't know, is it one, allowed in Kenya? Does it have a space in the law of in Kenya? And number two, how does it operate?
Yes, the issue on matrimonial property, prenups is actually covered and captured in our Kenyan law under the Matrimonial Property Act of 2013. Which basically says that parties can actually agree on how to actually go about their matrimonial property. And this goes under the contract law, whereby you are supposed to, one, ensure that you agree on the actual properties. So each party in this marriage is supposed, before getting married, is supposed to actually reveal and come out and say they have number 1, 2 to 5 properties, and then they need to disclose everything. So that is one of the requirements. The other requirement is that we need to enter into this prenup agreement 21 days before we get married. This is to make sure that you're not very emotionally excited. You're not
looking forward to a wedding on Friday.
On Friday,
and someone is telling you sign.
Sign, and you end up just signing off some of your properties. And then the other requirement is that you need to seek legal counsel, just like any other agreement that you enter into. You need to go and discuss it with a learned friend, with a lawyer. Ask them what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of actually signing the prenup. And so the requirement is basically that you are setting out your properties before you get married and saying that I have a house, and even if we get married, you cannot lay any claim on this house. Or I have this car, you cannot lay any claim on this car. And the advantage to that is that you save the court's time, because in case you have an unsuccessful marriage, maybe that goes for not so long, you will not end up coming to court, because you already said what belongs to who. Or you're even able in that prenup to set out and say, in case we purchase a house, we are going to share it 50-50.
Or it's clear.
It's clear, so you are just clarifying beforehand. You're preparing for marriage beforehand on how you can separate.
Does prenups, maybe as you continue, do prenups, the reason I'm laughing is because I was thinking, do prenups have a lapse time? Maybe you can say, after 7 years now, we can confirm. We can, because for our viewers, the people who don't understand what prenups is ni makubaliano. Unaketi mnaandikiana, mnasema tunaoana Januari, lakini gari yangu, shamba yangu, si yetu, ni yangu, na wewe unakuja unasema shamba yako, nyumba yako si yetu, ni yako. So that's what we call prenups. Now my question is, or it's being a contract you can have, you can be like after 10 years now, does it have, is it an entire alpha and omega that it has no end?
Just like any other agreement, and that's what we are saying. Just like any other agreement that you can dictate how long it lasts or goes for, you can also dictate how to amend it and how often to amend it and how to review it. So just like any contract, a prenup is that kind of a document that you actually are able to say, you know, for the next 20 years, this shall be in place. And after 20 years, we have tested this marriage and we are able to...
They are still strong.
Yes.
So I think from what you are saying, would you advise people to go for prenups? But people, when I say this, I know for born again Christians, we enter marriage as one. So I'm asking maybe for people who are watching this program and they're not born again, would you advise them to do prenups?
Yes and no. That would be my advice. That yes, maybe it's good to set out how you're going to share your property. In case of, you know, even death happens. Yeah. And when death happens, you need to have some evidence to make sure that your in-laws don't come fighting you. So. This property was mine before even I got married to this guy. It helps in such ways. And just like any information that is helpful to people, I think the information on how to set out your life together is important. But why I would say no to actually sending a prenup is because, you know, faith and they believe that your marriage is going to work out. And from that point, probably it will work out and you don't need to have such a document.
Especially for the young people who are getting married and they have nothing. Although I want to believe if maybe someone is getting married in their old age, maybe that's a different discussion. Because I think at that point, maybe everyone has his own properties. Maybe there are children from other marriages. There are maybe a spouse from another marriage. I think that will be a different discussion. But I think but these are personal, it's not legal. It's when you're getting into marriage, ingia tu roho moja. Ile miguu ndani na kila kitu ndani, then whatever happens, happens. Maybe coming about prenups and former spouses and former wives and current husbands and former husbands, and maybe before even you start, do you have that situation in Kenya where a wife can marry several husbands? Have you made that one, Wakili?
I haven't seen that. I think our society is yet to accept that, you know, if the man is doing it, a woman can also do it.
Can do it better.
Yeah, not better, can also do it.
Can also do it. Yeah. So what, maybe on polygamy and the law. So what happens that now we want to subdivide our matrimonial property, but you have reached a point whereby now I'm the third wife, I want to leave this marriage, I'm the second wife, I've gone for divorce. The court has declared us we were married customarily and they have given us a decree, Nisi Absolute, and now we are ready. I want now my property. What happens to the wife who is left, the wife who is leaving? Remember like the story of the prodigal son, the one who left, enjoyed and came still and got property, something else.
It's polygamy is a tricky subject. More so when it comes to protection of property and division of property. I'm reminded of a case where this first wife married in the 60s. They got married in the 60s. They acquired property. And for some time there, the husband was away. And so she was left maintaining this property, and particularly the house, the home where they lived. It was on a vast piece of land. And she was left, you know, taking care of it, running the home and all of that, while he was out, you know, earning. Now he came back and decided to marry other wives, which is fine. It's okay under, you know, the customary laws. And so he married, and as he was getting older, he decided, I'm going to divide this property, the one that he had acquired with the first wife, with his other wives, who are now 3. And she went to court. The first wife went to court and said, he cannot touch this property. So it's not that it was at divorce, she was trying to protect her property. And the court said, any property, and it's also provided for under Section 8, I believe, of the Matrimonial Property Act. Any property that's acquired between the first wife and the husband, before these other wives come, will be recognized as being their property together. And these other wives cannot lay claim on that property. However, if they acquire any more property after, these other wives have come, then it's believed to be everyone's property. Okay. Now, in the situation where you're asking, where the third wife has come and said, me, I am tired of polygamy, I want out of this, and say she wants to get her share, she should be coming from this pool of properties that we are saying, anything acquired when we are all here, this is the property. And so the court still looks at what was your contribution and all of that. As you're laying claim here, what did you bring to the table? Now, if you say, this is the house that he built for me as a third wife, and this is the work I put in, I made seat covers, I ensured the house was clean and all of that, then she can claim her contribution on that as a third wife. However, she can't touch anything that was acquired
by the first and the second wife.
Exactly. By the first wife.
By the first wife.
Well, yes, first and second wife, depending on what.
At what point?
Yeah.
Because let's give an example. I get someone, not me. I say that's an example.
Person X.
Person X. When we were in school, it was Tom and Mary. So Tom.
Yes.
Tom gets married 1990. 2000 gets married to the second wife. 2010 gets married to the third wife. 2020 gets married to the fourth wife. So property they acquired between 1990 to 2000 is for the first wife. Property they acquired from 2000 to 2010 is for the first and the second wife. Property they acquired from 2010 to 2020 is property for the first to the third wife. Property they acquired from 2010 to 2012 now is property for the fourth wife. So I think what you are saying, the person who was there before, share yake ni kubwa.
Yes.
So it's also very dangerous for the wives who come when there is at the stage of eating money. He's not making money. You are married as a second, third wife, akashungu at 70. That means this mzee does not have the energy to get proper. In fact, you're eating on the share of the first one. Are you saying now that uyo bibi tu atatoka hivyo?
Not quite. But the law does recognize and respect, we cannot
put in the work.
Exactly. We cannot overlook what, he did when he had the first wife. However, it's different in succession, because in succession, the court looks at first house, second house, third house, fourth house, and you benefit, based on
Maybe I'll say something very bad. Are you saying it's advisable for the second to the third wife to wait for succession than the divorce?
No.
Because at that point you'll be figured out. And I think for our viewers, to make it clear, succession when someone dies. So when one person dies, and we'll have this topic in December, we'll cover it well. When someone dies, there's house bibi wa kwanza wa pili na watatu, and the court looks at you as households. So I'm asking, because now we have realized we can use the story of Tom. The fourth wife who got married in 2010 to 2012, maybe hata walioana na Tom akuwa mgonjwa. He was sick in his deathbed. That means he did not make any money. So she's better off waiting for succession than... So, because the reason I'm saying this is this. It may look like a joke, but there are wives who are tired because of their husbands. They have wamevumilia miaka kama 20. And you are...
But you'll find in most cases, it's not the fourth, third wife who is coming for it. It's the first wife. The first wife begins, first wife begins to realize, and not really divorce, just declaration that, protect my interest. Because you realize that the way my spouse is progressing,
or he comes and sells off.
He could easily give off things that I put in a lot of work for. And so it's many times the first wife comes and says, no, please protect me. Tells the court, protect me, that he shall not sell, this share that we worked together for.
So, Wakili, what you are saying is not a must you go for divorce. It's not a must you go for matrimonial division.
No.
You can go to court and tell the court, what I'm asking from this court is, please let him not touch this.
Yes, you can go to court. I think we said it last time that you can go to court to protect you. Yeah, you can, even if you're not at the stage where I don't want to divorce you. We are still married. I just want the court to ensure that you don't mess with things we acquired together. And last time there's something we kept laughing about, receipts.
Yeah.
I wish to clarify, you don't have to keep receipts.
Yeah.
We made it sound like
it's a must.
that the contribution is direct. There's also indirect contribution. There's non-monetary contribution.
Yeah.
If, say, we agree that you'll stay home and watch the children, does it mean that when you acquire property, I have no stake in that? It doesn't mean that. It means I can come and tell the court, we agreed, I'll stay home. And it was believed that as he was acquiring, with peace of mind, knowing that things at home are sorted, he was acquiring for both of us. And the court factors that in.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So, in fact, what we were saying about the receipts and everything is not a must, the physical. But if you have physical, it helps even the lawyers when you're going to court to prove the monetary and the non-monetary ones. Maybe on the issue of, I've liked what you have said about preservation of this property. When ladies go to court, and it's very important because we have found a scenario whereby you are married as a first wife, second wife, then there's a third wife who comes, or even a second wife who comes. You realize Mzee is selling. He's not even giving out. He sells this property that you have together, says it's for investment, for business, goes now buys a property in the name of that lady. So I think it's also very important for ladies out there to know you have a solution. You have something you can run to. You can run to court and be like, no, please let him not touch these properties. We worked hard for them. I don't know if you have something else.
Even before running to court, there are the ways of preserving your property.
No.
For example, registering a caveat.
Uh-huh.
You are able to actually, when you're in fear that your property is about to be sold off, something that you work together for, you can go to the land registrar, make an application and say that you have a vested interest in this land, and as a beneficial, that beneficial interest that you have on this property, this property should not be sold off, and so that allows you to safeguard the properties that you have together with the muse that you're mentioning here. So you don't even sometimes have to rush to court, which may be a longer process. But all you need to do is maybe show up at the land registry and preserve, let's say, that vehicle. There's also one where you're able to also, not vehicle, preserve that land, but also for vehicles you're also able to put a caveat and stop any transfers.
Okay.
Yeah. Also joint ownership, I believe, works.
Helps,
yeah. It helps because you're on the title with your spouse, you know. How will they sell it off without knowledge?
And one thing about joint ownership, I think it's something that we'll talk about it very much when it comes to succession. It helps also you guys, it cuts your cost and your problems. Because I tell people, if your name is on that title, when one dies, you just present the death certificate to lands and make an application and exchange. But even if you're the only wife, you have to leave mfuatane kotini, file a petition, get grants, divide the properties, go to lands, transfer that. So please, husbands who are listening to us and the wives who are listening to us, when you're buying property, if it's possible, please put it in your both names. It will save you a lot of problems and a lot of this back and forth. Maybe another thing as we finish on the issue of the joint properties. Now, if we are 1, 2, 3 wives in polygamous marriages. And the first wife has this name, second wife has this name, third wife has this name. When you are doing a divorce and maybe there was buying property together with this, with the name of each wife, does that make it easier when you come to subdivision of matrimonial properties? Or can I be like, no, even if you're subdividing mine, there's stake in the other one, although it has both of your names, Ukombele?
No, it helps. I believe it helps because when you're registering in both names, it's sort of, you're putting it out there. There's no rebuttable presumption. It's obvious that, I mean, it's not even about rebuttable. There's no doubt that you had intended for both of you to be own the property. Yeah, so it helps build your case. Also, the law allows for parties to agree that this property is ours. you know, and you can register it as such.
Yeah.
So that even when someone is laying claim, you'll say, but this was ours. Me as the second wife, we acquired this together.
What is in your closing remarks, maybe Eliud, as she prepares for her closing remarks, what would you say about the issue of marriage, divorce, polygamy? What would you tell our viewers, maybe as a closing remark?
I believe the one way to safeguard your property is to, one, make sure that, like we've said here, make sure that you register your properties jointly. Secondly, that before you even come to us as lawyers, try all these other channels, try them out. Go for mediation, go see your pastor, go for counseling. Some of those issues can be resolved because I've had situations whereby we go for the whole process and people end up going back together. Yet you actually spend so much time and money trying to go your way apart, but then you had not tried it out some more. So put some effort before you come to us as lawyers, before you consider the divorce and the whole matrimonial issue, division issue.
Okay.
I'd say that nobody gets married thinking that there's an end. You know, we all believe
And look
that,
forward. Yeah.
yes, that, you know, it's until, in fact, our vows, we say, until death do us part. And so the court figures that out as well. The court knows that as well, that when you are getting into this marriage 10, 15 years ago, you had not imagined that it would get to this. And so as much as, and this is mainly, I think, to Christians, as much as we know that the end is in death, let's also be very well aware that we are human, we are sinners, we are inherently evil, you know, and so just be alert in these things, you know. I feel like, you know, your wife probably doesn't know how many things you have acquired, or she has no interest because she's like, huyu ni mtu wa Mungu, hatawahi nikosea, you know, and then things happen. Just be alert. Get to know what's happening in my family. What are we acquiring? What are we investing in? You know, not necessarily with division in mind, but should it come to that, you're not, you know, you've not been caught unawares. Yeah. But also, let's honor this institution so that it doesn't get to this, where we are discussing division of property. Let's discuss succession. Okay. You know, that one of us has died. But for division, if we could honor our marriages and continue to pray for God to protect them. Yeah.
Asante sana. For my end in this one is, I would like to say that as what the lawyers have said is that, one, before you reach to the lawyers, because when you reach to the lawyers, it becomes very painful. It takes a trajectory of its own. So try mediation, try talking to your pastor, pray about it. I say, look yourself in the mirror. Maybe are you the cause of all these problems in your home? Try and see the good thing out of it. Another thing is that please keep your documents, your marriage certificate, keep your marriage certificate, your children certificates, birth certificates. Even I know a lot of men don't know even the birth certificates. Please, can you keep them? One day, in case it does not reach succession, and even in doing succession, these documents are very, very important. You don't want to be at that point is when you are looking for your marriage certificate and saying, aki, hata watu wanajua, I was married to this guy. Please, keep them now. Keep all those documentations. Keep pictures. Sometimes if you are married under the customary law and someone refuses, she was not my wife, you need those Rorasho pictures. So please pay your photographers to be able to have nice photographs and those was this. It has been the law and you on the issue of division of matrimonial property. We have just scratched the surface. Even we have not talked about the case laws and what the judges have talked about. But this is what we have. Next time we want to be dwelling on the children. There's been a lot of questions on children, on the issue of the rights of the children. Who is responsible for the children? Is it the man who is supposed to pay for everything for the children? Or the women should also pay up? Is it 50-50? Or where does 50-50, that is 70, reaches? We also talk about custody. Who is given custody? Can you give custody to 1 year old or 20 years old. If a child is 20 years old, can he still go to the children's court to seek for maintenance from his parents? As even as a mother, can you go take the husband, or the husband take the wife? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about issues of names, changing of names. Can a child wake up one morning and be like, "Hii jina nilipewa si mzuri"? Join us next Tuesday at 8 p.m. on One Accord TV, YouTube, and our Facebook pages. And may God bless you so much. Asante sana.